Now, I want to share my assignment files to you, and you would have already received it. If not, then you can go ahead and write to this ID here. You can write to thrive, thrive at cedarinfotech.com. Yeah, you can write to this for assignment files, or you can sign up on our website, training.cedarinfotech.com. Okay, when if you can sign up there on the website, and you'll get the assignment files. Now once you have the assignment files, you can unzip it and you have a folder here. So either you can start directly with this folder, or you can have a folder inside the one which you already created in the previous one. So I go to my Cedar folder, and then I'll try to say here inside this. Okay, I'll actually go to the file system, and I'll open a folder file. And then here is my folder, and I'll open it up. Okay, and then there's a complete set of files. Even the first one that you wrote yourself is here. So now let's go to the second one, a simple demo of numbers here. Okay, it's a very simple HTML file. If you look at this HTML file, all that it does is simple stuff like, let's ignore ng-app and ng-init for now. You can look at that. There's an invoice, you know that, and there's a simple div tag with no attributes inside it. And then in the input, you say the input field is of type number, and then you see a new attribute here. If you're from our HTML language, a property inside a tag, it can be called as an attribute. Okay, so similarly for the cost also, we see there's another attribute called ng model, and now you have this kind of angular kind of expressions that we saw in the previous video, in the previous code, just like the two angular brackets in the previous code. Okay, coming back to the new code now, we also see that there is a script that leads to the same angular in googleapis.com is the URL where we are getting a JavaScript from. And then now let's try to see what is this. We saw that there was a term ng-app in the previous video, and there was a directory and it had no name. Even here it doesn't have a name. You can just leave it like this, and then you can go ahead and the next thing is ng-init. Okay, ng-init is it's like the word says, it's an initialization. Okay, ng stands for the word angular, eng, so the a is gone and you have only ng. So you're saying that inside this div, the stuff that you see here inside this div, all this is a kind of an angular stuff. Okay, and then in the angular, you are initializing, so you're declaring two variables just as quantity and assigning it to a value 1, and then cost and assigning it a value 2. Okay, it's now you should start thinking of programming. Okay, like in JavaScript, you declare a variable and give it a value. Here is a variable and you give it a value. You have then we have a label invoice. So let's run this directly and see what happens. Okay, what we see here is we have the invoice as it was there in line number 8. Then we have the quantity with input type of number. So if I type on something, I press up an arrow, it's a number. If I try to enter some other text, it doesn't take any alphabets. It only takes numbers, because we said that the type is number. Then we go for cost, and even that is a number. And there's a total here. And the total here is an expression that we have seen. It says that we have this angular curly braces out here, and it is quantity times cost, and then there's a pipe currency. Okay, we'll remove this one for the time being. I'll remove this one. So it is just a pure multiplication, quantity times cost. And what is quantity? Quantity is here. Well, what is this QTY? QTY is a variable that we initialized here, right? So we have declared a variable on line number 7, and we are referencing that variable. It's no more assignment. This, if assignment is equal to 1, now we are referring to it, right? We are referring to it, and in line number 16, we are referring to it again. So let's run this code. You may see that as soon as I refresh it, a quantity gets value 1. Why does it get 1? Because it has been initialized to 1, right? So the default value has been set, and then you do expression of it, you get the value 3. In all this, if you have done JavaScript before, you would be probably guessing, where is my JavaScript file? I don't have a JavaScript file that I wrote, right? There's no my javascript.js, okay, or script.js file. All that we have is this external file, the Angular minified JS file. Now, the question to you is, why is it working the way it is? Because it is kind of a programming now, right? We have declared some variables, initializes to some values, and then allowing the user to input the value. Even though we have a default value, finally we multiply it and show it up. So we know this part from the first video and the first example, that it is purely an expression. You can do expression in HTML if you're using Angular. Otherwise, you were not able to do it. Okay. Now let's increase the value. I'm increasing the quantity to 2, and you notice that the total is also increasing. So 4 times 2 is 8, right? So I'll put this expression here. Yeah, I should have saved it. Then you get the dollar sign is gone. Okay. So I get the currency here and I save it. You see that in here in the total. Notice the total here. I'll remove this. If I remove this part, okay, I'm sorry. If I remove this currency part and I save it, okay, there's a spelling error here. I see the dollar sign is gone. So if I just pipe it to currency, and we'll talk about this piping, and which is actually a filtering. It understands the browser's default currency and puts in there. Okay. So all that you have to do now in the next assignment is look into assignment files, or you can just type this one yourself and get the result out. Slowly we are moving on, and we'll have interesting things there. Thank you.